Hi, everybody. It's me, Leo, back for a long overdue edition of Let's Talk About It Tuesday. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Tuesday thus far. Things are going quite well in my neck of the woods. I hope everyone is doing well and everyone is staying safe and masking up and voting and doing all the things that we should do. So, what I want to talk about for this edition of Let's Talk About It Tuesday was and is Tamar Braxton. And not just Tamar Braxton, the singer, but more so the lessons that her experience, since a lot of her, well, not a lot, but well, no, a lot of her experience has been played out and is being played out via through the cameras. I figured we should talk about it because I think it's a good thing to talk about, and I think it would be a different kind of conversation. It would spark a different type of conversation. But before I go into that, I want to say for those of you who have been watching my channel, thank you so much. If you're new here, welcome, and subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell, so that you know when my videos are up and running. Be sure to leave comments, be sure to like it. Follow me on all forms of social media. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Tumblr, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I try to be everywhere. The only thing I don't have, believe it or not, I don't have a TikTok and I don't have a Snapchat. And I refuse to get one. And I don't have a Patreon because I don't really want one, nor do I need one right now. But anywho, so the reason why I wanted to talk about Tamar Braxton is because I've been following Tamar. Um, excuse me. I've been following Tamar since her career began. Her career began, for those of you who don't know, it began in 1999 with her self-titled debut. And it featured the likes of Miss Yellow. It featured, I think, The Brat was on one of her songs. She had two singles. She had Getting On with Emile and Jermaine Dupri, and then what's the other one? If You Don't Want to Love Me. Those two singles. So if you know that, then you definitely are a Tamar and you definitely are a fan. And fast forward, we now see her on Braxton Family Values. But I'm not here to talk about her musical contributions, her musical accomplishments, because we all know she can sing. We all know she's a great singer. We all know that she comes from wonderful musical stock. But what I actually want to talk about and discuss is the lessons that I think by watching her, we could as viewers and as spectators, we could actually take from her, and that is the lessons of ownership and accountability. Recently, she did a mini series called Tamar Braxton Get Your Life. And it was a 6-part series, and it followed her for 6 weeks. And it followed her basically trying to get her life back, like trying to mend fences with her family, trying to figure out why her career isn't where it could be or should be, uh, trying to do a lot of deep inner work. And she brought in people like Mona Scott Young, who we all know created the Love and Hip Hop franchise, but she was also, for those of you who don't know, she used to be a manager. And I think she still manages people. I'm not 100% sure. But she used to be a manager, and she used to be a part of A&R with Atlantic Records, like back in the day, all the way up until I think 2001, because I know she helped Missy Elliott. Like she and Missy Elliott are really, really tight. Anywho, so she enlisted Mona Scott Young's help, and so they said, okay, we'll do a docu-series, because that's really what it was. It was a docu-series. And Mona Scott said, okay, if you're going to do this, you're giving us, 100% access. You're giving us everything, like if we're going to film, we're going to film everything. And so she agreed. If you go back and you watch the first episode, she actually agreed. She made a promise that she was going to stick through it. And as the docu-series progressed, she didn't. She walked away a lot. She was very, what am I trying to say? She was very off-standish. She was very combative at times. She would, I'm trying to think of the word, forgive me for pausing. She would, I'll say it like this. What people said to her was not what she heard. There we go. She has selective hearing. There we go. That's the word I was trying to use. Um, and she wouldn't own, and what got me, because I watched the whole thing. I watched the whole series because I was like, I want to see what this is about. Because as we know, Tamar has recently come out about her suicide attempt. We heard the 911 call from her then boyfriend, David, which that's a whole nother video that I'll go into later. And we all know now that she also unfollowed all of her sisters and even her mother via social media, which that's, like I said, that's a whole nother video. Anywho, so so she agrees to everything, and they're filming, and but they're not, but she's not giving them what she committed to do. She's not giving them 100% access. She's not being vulnerable. She's not being forthcoming. And so the production team is literally grasping for straws. So they brought in a woman by the name of Goldie. Goldie is, and forgive me, I can't pronounce her last name. I'm so afraid I'm going to mispronounce her name. But Goldie is a dream. She's a dream worker. And basically what a dream worker does is they tap into your subconscious and help you work. She's a dream therapist. They help you work things out. They help you, really deal with your traumas. And mind you, they agreed to having her on the show post and before and pre-production. So even in pre-production meetings, they agreed to her being on the show. So she comes in, she's working with Tamar, and mind you, the woman has a track record. She's worked with celebrities. She's worked with Michael K. Williams. She's worked with Tasha Smith. She's worked with some pretty big names. Like, she's, pretty well established. So she comes in, and she, the first, I would say maybe 2 episodes, she's doing some work. She's doing some great work with her. Tamar is really blossoming. Tamar is really understanding, her missteps and why she's made the decisions she's made. She's now seeing her patterns. And mind you, this is from someone who's had help from everyone from Dr. Sherry to TD Jakes to Iyanla Vanzant. Okay. So she knows this. And also she knows what it is when you sign a contract and you commit to something via television. You know what this is. You've been in TV for a long time. This is not new to you. So the series progresses, and I'm giving y'all kind of like a small synopsis, or a small summary. So the series progresses, and the more it progresses, what I found was the more intense it got. And the one thing that I took away from the series, and I won't give it all away, you'll have to go watch it yourself if you want to, because it's a train wreck. But the one thing that I took away from it was, when are you going to own your part in your own bullshit, in your own mess? When are you going to hold yourself accountable? And when are you going to admit, okay, I'm not as together, or I'm not as in charge as I thought. I'm actually a lot more vulnerable, a lot more submissive than I led myself on to believe. And that was the one thing that I took away from the whole series, was that throughout the whole journey, and they were with her for 6 weeks. So that's a month and maybe a week. Yeah, that's a month and a week, or a week and a month. So, they're with her the entire time, the production team, everything. And she's not taking accountability for her part at all. She's not owning, you know what, maybe it is me. Maybe it's my attitude. Maybe it's the fact that I don't know how to use my voice properly. That deep down, I'm still an abused, lonely, sad little girl who never allowed herself to grow, and because of that abandonment and feeling as if, I'm stuck and I have to do everything by myself and for myself, I lash out at the people closest to me who really want to help, like my family, like my friends, like the men I've been with. Or another thing that I noticed too was that even with the men that she was with, even with Vince, and even with her former boyfriend David, what I noticed that they both had in common was that they both were controlling. If you go back and you watch Tamar and Vince, you go back and you watch that show, Vince was controlling in his own way. Vince was passive aggressive with his control. And Vince was very manipulative. But also, she saw Vince as a cash cow. Let's just be honest. I'm not saying she used him for money. That's not what I'm saying. But she saw Vince as, well, that's my stepping stone. That's not only my husband, but that's a man that can open doors for me that I can't open myself. And in that aspect, I can't blame her, because I think if anybody were in that position, we'd all do that. Let's just be honest, we would. But even in that, what I noticed with her, with the one commonality that David and Vince had in common, was they both were controlling. They both were manipulative. They both were spoiled. They both wanted Tamar to submit to them in their own way. And when she didn't, they would throw a tantrum of some sort. David was more charismatic, I think, with it, personally. I think David was more not as in your face. I think Vince was like that too. But after a while, Vince would lose his temper and really tell her about herself. But like I said, you also have to take accountability in that too, because the one thing I noticed with her was that with all the men, oh, I've been abused, but let's look at it this way. And now let me just also say this: I'm not saying that she's asking to be abused. No one asked for abuse. Let's clear that up. But you have to take some responsibility on your end for the people that you pick, whether it be your friends, whether it be your relationships, your personal relationships, your intimate relationships. You have to take responsibility and accountability. And so even when she was working with Goldie, she didn't do that. She didn't own that, maybe the fact that the reason why my family don't want to deal with me, because there was one instance where she invited all her family to come down for, no, there were two instances. She invited her family to come down for Thanksgiving, and she invited her family to come down to celebrate David's birthday, his 50th. And all of her family said no. They were like, no, we're not doing it. Now, Thanksgiving, I understand, because Thanksgiving, if you're married and you have, even if you don't have children and you're married, and you're not married, sometimes you want to do Thanksgiving on your own. Sometimes you want to, be with people that you feel more comfortable with. And seeing as how Tamar can be combative and can be moody, you know what I mean? And so like on a dime, she can switch. It's like I wouldn't want to be around it either. And then I think also her family saw a lot of dysfunction with she and David. And they were like, yeah, I'd rather sit this one out because we've seen enough. And when it comes to Goldie and what Goldie was trying to do, the dream work, I felt sorry for her. I really did. I'm not going to lie. I felt bad. And the reason why is because I know what it is to be in a profession where people, they take it seriously to a point, but they don't really commit to the work. I know what it is. I know what that is as being a life coach and a sidekick. I've had so many people, oh, well, I don't really believe in this stuff. Well, then if you don't believe in it, if you don't believe that this will help you, then why are we here? Why are we sitting down talking to one another? Same thing with life coaching. If you don't believe that you need coaching, that you're fine, and that you don't need my help, and not just my help, but any coach or anybody who's in a healing profession, then why are we even here? And I felt bad for her because they were coming down on not only what she did, but why she was there. They made it seem like her work was not kosher in terms of religious, even though it dealt more so with Native American spirituality and things of that nature, and it dealt with going within. And even if you look at Christianity, Christianity talks about that, about going within. I mean, can we mention Joseph? Joseph was a dream interpreter, so it was no different from Joseph. And I felt sorry for her. I felt sorry for the fact that as the series progressed, they attacked her. You know, there was one point where they said that she was a witch and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, really? But that's beside the point. The point is that the lesson that Tamar Braxton can teach all of us from watching her expand and grow, but also implode, is you have to own your shit. You have to own your part, and you have to take responsibility for your actions and the things that create the conflicts, the issues that you may have. But at the same time, you also have to be able to say, you know what, my family isn't as great as I thought, or the love relationships aren't as awesome, you know, and then look at that. Look at why your family is dysfunctional. And maybe not try to fix it with them, but look at it within yourself, you know. When I see Tamar, I see a woman who is still a little girl in a lot of ways. I see a woman who really wants to be taken care of. And I don't mean financially, but I think emotionally. She just wants someone to love her. And she often feels that she's pushed aside for her sisters. She often feels that the men in her life take her for granted. They use her name and her status. And I can see that somewhat. But like I said, as the series progressed, she just didn't let anyone in. And that was another thing that I noticed too, is that you have to learn to be vulnerable. Like if you really want your life to change, you got to learn to be vulnerable and own and say, you know what, I'm not as together as I thought I was. Or, you know, yes, maybe I am a bit codependent. Or, you know, let me see something. Maybe I do have some mental illnesses that have been unchecked for so long. Because the suicide attempt that she went through, that obviously was a cry for help. And you know, I think on her, in regards to her, I think it was a form of escape too. But once again, if you don't deal with your stuff, it will deal with you. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that as it's being played out because, you know, she's, instead of her dealing with her stuff and really owning and honing and saying, you know what, you know, the reason why I'm not as successful as I like to be is because I self-sabotage. Not just her mouth, because she does have a mouth and she does have attitude, but just the energy that she carries. You know, she I think with a woman like Tamar, she doesn't know how to be herself. And that was the one thing I really took from that was she doesn't know what authenticity is. And she doesn't know that it's okay. That you don't have to be loud and boisterous and over the top to get stuff done. You can sometimes just lay back. But also own your insecurities, because there was one part in the docu-series where she was afraid to sing. She didn't like singing in front of people. And it's funny, a lot of people who are creative people, myself included, they get nervous singing in front of folks. I'm one of them. I understand that. But own that. You know what I mean? Don't, because throughout the whole series, and even Goldie said this too, was that she would try to avoid, she would use things, like she would use her son. She would use, oh, well, I got a crew, you know, like there was a point where when she was working on a song, there was a guy who came, he was a producer, he came in and he only had, I think, maybe 2 or 3 days to come in and help her out with the song. And instead of her saying, okay, well, let me get to work, let me put my fears aside, let me put away my insecurities for this moment, because we all have insecurities, myself included. But let me put this flaw away. Let me own it that I have it, number one. But then number two, let me put this away and focus on the task at hand. She's not doing that. She's cooking. She's making, and I mean cooking. She's making like macaroni and cheese, peach cobblers, she's frying chicken. She's making things like, and I think too, what I, and I'm kind of rambling, but what I also got from that moment, I'm like, but you're not, instead of you dealing with the issues, you're avoiding it because you don't want to face it. You don't, and I think that's what it is too, is that she really, at least for me, that's what I've gotten from her journey as I've seen it on TV, is if you don't face yourself, your issues will always be in your face and they will face you. And you don't want your issues to face you, because then your issues will fuck you up. And even in that, instead of her saying, well, let me face this and deal with it, she didn't. She avoided and avoided and avoided and waited until the last minute to get stuff done. But then another thing that I noticed too is that Tamar Braxton does not have friends. She doesn't, and let me say this. I don't mean that she doesn't have friends. She does. She has people around her that are friendly. She has people around her that like her, that think she's great, right? But she doesn't have a real genuine friend that's like, look, girl, look, I love you. I love you to life. I really do. But the shit you're doing, you need to get it together. And I said that, because I'm your friend and I love you. She doesn't have that. Even in her, and I think the reason why she may feel like her family has kind of left her to the wolves is because I think her family has tried to tell her that in a very loving family way, but she didn't get it. You know, it didn't compute. Um, so her family said, no, we'll just leave her where she's at. We don't know what else to do with her. And then the friends that she does have, they're all her stylists, they're her makeup artists, they're assistants, they're people that help her. These are yes people. These are not people that are genuine friends to her, I think. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Please let me know in the comments, because, I'm not saying that James Wright Chanel isn't her friend. That's not what I'm saying. But let's be honest. If you're being paid to do somebody's makeup, to be an assistant, to dress someone, to help with sound check, to help with choreography, you're not really going to say a lot. Why? Because you don't want to risk losing a job. So you can't blame them for that. And that's not their fault. They're doing what they get paid for. But in her case, she doesn't know how to reach out and really, I feel, really be a friend and really say, I need real friends. I need some good girlfriends. Good girlfriends and good guy friends that'll get me all the way together and be like, look, bitch, we love you, but this is bullshit here. Okay, we gonna need you to go into a facility, get on some medication if you need to, get some therapy, and not in front of a damn camera, okay? And own your stuff. Own it. Not for us, but for you. Because this is affecting you. This is hurting you. And then in turn, it's hurting everybody else. So through that 6 weeks, she didn't do that. And that was the one thing that I took away from that, was when you don't own your stuff, it will own you and it will not let go. It will not let go. And you can try to run away from it. You can try to escape it if you want to, but it will always be around. And I think that's a lesson that we all could take from watching her, is, watching the things that she may do and the choices that she may make, is you have to be mindful and you have to be responsible and you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable and you have to take accountability for the things you do, say, feel, everything, for everything. And no, you're not perfect. You're not supposed to be. But that's the point of life. It's a journey. You know what I mean? Not a destination. So that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to comment on and say that, because that's actually been in my head. This whole thing has been in my head for quite a while. And I forgot to say this too. Happy Tuesday. And today we're honoring the god of iron and the god of technology, Ogun. So that's why I have my own little green on today. I'm honoring Ogun today. And he's also a god of protection. So For those of you who work a lot with computers, if you work a lot with metals, you have Mr. Okun to thank. So just wanted to say that. So that was my Let's Talk About It Tuesday. But I want to know, I've said what I thought, but I want to know, what do you think about this? What do you think about Tamar Braxton? You know, are you a fan? Are you not a fan? If you watched the Get Your Life docu-series, what do you think of it? I personally thought it was good, but I just saw a woman that was in a lot of pain. And a lot of her pain was self-inflicted. But that's just my personal opinion. And I thought that the producer, Michael Beck, I think is his name. First of all, I thought he was adorable. I thought he was too cute. And, you know, I thought the production team worked with what they had. You know what I mean? You know, because you got to understand it's a give and take. I've never done TV on that scale, but I know enough about TV to where when you do that, you really are, you're not allowing them to control it per se. I mean, yes, they edit and all, that's their job. But ultimately it's on you. You're letting them in. You know what I mean? And you agree to it. When you sign your name under the dotted line, you agree. So but that's all I have to say on that. But I want to know, what do you think? Leave your comments below. Tell me what you think. How are you, and also another question I want to ask, how are you learning to own and hold yourself accountable for your choices, your mistakes? How are you taking responsibility for your stuff? Because that's the one thing that watching that and just watching her has taught me. Own who you are, own your stuff. You're not perfect, and it's okay to be vulnerable. So how are you doing it? How are you learning to be vulnerable? How are you taking responsibility? How are you holding yourself accountable? You know, and holding those you love and, you know, those you care about responsible and accountable too. So that's what I want to know. But until next time, I will see you guys, and I hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday. Once again, I'm Leo Brown, and I'll see you soon. Bye.